Is Black History is a novel with pages taken out of it, right? And today I'm here to put the pages back in the book. This is the story you're telling yourself as a Black person. If that's all you're being taught, right? What does that say about your self-concept? What does that say about the identity that you create about yourself? What does that say about the goals that you set for yourself based on the history that you were taught, right? Like, people don't know about Black history like that, you know what I'm saying? And I did a trailer actually for the podcast a couple days ago, and this comment, I'm gonna read a comment out because this comment is exactly why I'm doing this sort of podcast for this month. So I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name. User IO6GF9RT2X, he says, well, Black people don't really have much history. I'm mixed race. My grandmother is Black, but Black African had no real successful generals, kings, or emperors. Well, that is far from the truth, bro. Never built a significant castle. Black Africans never successfully invaded countries, never started wars, never invented anything. Well, this guy he hasn't heard of Mansa Musa. He hasn't heard of the Moors dynasty at all. Well, let's keep going. And he also goes to talk about never invented anything. I can't name off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure we have made some inventions and stuff. Never invented anything amazing, never built anything. In fact, Black Americans can't build a thriving society even in 2024. They cannot withstand a thriving society. I mean, Black people do have history, just like everyone has history, but as a race, it's boring to tell. That's what I'm trying to prove wrong, because I had that exact same mindset a few years ago, and that's the thing. What is the story you're telling yourself as a Black person, right? Because all throughout, like, school and stuff, they teach you about slavery, they teach you about all these things, but they don't teach you about what was going on before slavery. They don't teach you about the positive things about Black history. It's always about slavery. Because the way I see Black history is a novel with pages taken out of it, right? And today I'm here to put the pages back in the book. You know what I'm saying? And this is no shade to this guy at all. I'm just using his comment as an example, because this is the exact kind of mindset that, I'm trying to spread awareness to, is because, what is the story you're telling yourself? What is the story as a Black person you're telling yourself? You know what I mean? We have to start changing the way we view ourselves, right? And to respond to that, like, another user actually commented. I'll put the comments up on the screen. He said, he told me to Google the Harlem Hellfighters. Shout out to Slayer 22, I think it is 23 or 22. But yeah, the Harlem Fighters were like a group of Black military soldiers, and they actually fought in I believe World War I. Yeah, they were known for being like a really powerful force, and they actually introduced jazz music to Europeans and stuff, and they were actually nicknamed the Hellfighters by the Germans, by their German adversaries back in the day. So to go back to that first comment where he says, African Americans never had generals or anybody interesting, there was, and there's time and time again, I can prove it, right? Like, if you look, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, throughout our lives, they just tell us about the negative things about Black history, they only talk about slavery, discrimination, but I think there's more to it. I'm not saying at all we shouldn't focus on the hard times, the bad times with slavery, with Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and all that stuff. All those things are good to share too, but I feel like if we're only talking about the negative parts of history, it could actually do more harm than good in the long run. Because from a young age, your brain is still developing, and so and these contribute to the stories that we tell ourselves. What is the identity that you're creating for yourself as a Black person, right? Like, what is the identity being shaped, right? Because if that's all you're being taught, right? What does that say about your self-concept? What does that say about the identity that you create about yourself? What does that say about the goals that you set for yourself based on the history that you were taught, right? So obviously it's good to learn about the positives and the negatives. The negatives, especially if you want to not repeat history and make changes, but it's also good to look at the positives, because then it starts to inspire hope and just and it creates a positive image of the identity that you create for yourself, right? And so that's why, you know, last year's Black History Month podcast was a little bit all over the place. So that's why, so this year is gonna focus. I'm gonna focus on one part of Black history. I want to focus. If you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast, click right here.